What's up, YouTube? It's Josh coming at you. And I've seen a lot of people doing the $100 game challenges for various systems. A bunch of systems that I actually would like to jump on myself and do, because it's just a really fun challenge that's been going around the community. I decided to start with a system that's near and dear to my heart and that I actually haven't seen anybody do a list for yet. So stay tuned. So welcome back, you guys. So like I said, I decided that I was going to do a system that we haven't seen before in this challenge, and that is the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 has a massive library of games. It has over 2,500 games across all regions. I have a pretty decent sized collection myself of the PlayStation 3. I've got like 250, I think, something like that. It's probably like the second biggest collection of games I have. I love collecting for the system. It's been one of my favorites ever since it launched. I had one before I had a 360, unlike a lot of other people. Before we get started though, check out this beer that we got right here. We have the Fried Ice Cream Stout. This bad boy right here registers at 10.3% ABV, and it comes to us from Flying Fish Brewing Company. Have not had it before. I saw it when I was on vacation a couple of months back. It is a one from the East Coast. It's from Flying Fish Brewing Company, as I said, from Somerdale, New Jersey. So any of y'all that are in that New Jersey, New York area up there, you may find it. Delaware is actually where I found it at. So let's see what it tastes like. It smells delicious. Now that is good. You get some serious like cinnamon chocolate with it. It says it's an imperial stout that was brewed with vanilla ice cream, chocolate, and cinnamon. And you can definitely get the chocolate and cinnamon. Like I said, 10.3%. It's a pretty strong one. Big can. Very tasty. Check that one out if you guys get a chance. If you like stouts, you'll definitely like this one. All right, so jumping into the system. It was tough. These lists are not easy to make. All of you guys out there that have made these before, you guys know what I'm talking about. You kind of start throwing some games down. You're like, I want to include this for sure. And then once you get to the end, you're like, man, I got to reel it back a little bit. So here's what I got. I'm going to go down the list from how I just started throwing games out. This doesn't go from price or preference or anything. These are all just games that I love. And I'm like, if I had $100 and that's all I had and all I could buy for this system, the PlayStation 3, these are the games that I would pick up. I recommend them. So the first game we have is Ghostbusters, the video game. Now, this game price charts in at $12.99. I have had it for a long time. The story behind it for me, a friend of mine, a coworker that I worked with, he was a big PS3 fan as well. So we would occasionally like trade games back and forth with one another. I actually got this game from him. He traded me for, I think it was Call of Duty World at War. Go figure, right? This game, though, is a masterpiece. If you guys are fans of the Ghostbusters films, you guys will love this. It's like playing the third part of the original movies. You're playing as a trainee for the Ghostbusters. You go along with the original team, and you go out and you bust ghosts, and you solve the mystery, and it's really, really fun. It's got some really cool mechanics with the different tools that the Ghostbusters use. So you guys would definitely like it, and it's definitely pretty affordable at price charted at $12.99. The second game I have, I've seen a few people more recently begin talking about this one. This is another one though that I picked up way back in the day, and honestly fell in love with this game. It's a great game. This is Dante's Inferno, the Divine Edition. I think it's the only edition they actually made for the PlayStation 3. A lot of folks would say it's a God of War clone, and I guess it kind of is as far as the gameplay is concerned, but this thing stands on its own by itself, I'm telling you. In this game, you play as Dante. He's a Knight Templar. He returns to his homeland. His girlfriend, his love, has been kidnapped by Lucifer. He has to fight through the 9 circles of hell to get her back. The boss fights in this thing are phenomenal. They're just larger than life, just wild looking creatures. The whole theme of the game is just killer. I'm telling you guys, if you've never played it, don't just write it off as a God of War clone, because this game right here, this game kicks ass. Definitely check it out. It comes in at $14.79 on price charting currently. The next one we have is a classic that everybody should have in their PlayStation 3 library. We have Red Dead Redemption. Now, I went with the Greatest Hits Game of the Year edition, partially because it's what I have in my collection, but also because the value of what you're getting with the game. This game, another absolute masterpiece by Rockstar. I'm sure most of you have probably played Red Dead Redemption. If you haven't, it is a third-person Western in the Grand Theft Auto style, but it stands completely by itself from the Grand Theft Auto games. You could be a good guy, you could be a bad guy, but in the end, John Marston, the protagonist, he is a good guy. This is one of my favorite games, to be honest with you, of all time. It has tons of replay value in it. You can get out there, you could do the quests. You could the main quest for the storyline. You could do side quests. You can go hunting. You can just go fishing. Go do whatever you want to do in the game. Just mess around. It's just a great game. As I said, I went with the greatest hits game of year edition, so it would give you the Undead Nightmare DLC to go along with it too. So it adds even more replayability with it, more quests and things of that nature. And this one clocks in at $12 even on price charting. The next game we have is actually one of my favorite games of all time as well. Now I know I've probably said that already with Red Dead Redemption and Ghostbusters. I think that one was on my list as well, but I love the PlayStation 3. So what can I say? The game we have right here is Fallout 3. I went with the Game of the Year edition, greatest hits version as well. The traditional edition of the game, the original release, is actually a little bit cheaper than this one. This one clocks in at $9.79. But with the additional 4 or 5 DLCs that you get, it just adds a crap ton of content that you can play. If you like RPGs, Fallout, I don't know if you're not familiar with Fallout and you like RPGs, you probably would like it. The only kickback I could say to this game was I remember it being very buggy. So you have to save a lot, but the story just drew me in, and I just love the style, the first person shooter style. But it's not really a first-person shooter because you do a lot of exploration and stuff. And that's why I love this series. This is the game that actually drew me into the series and made me fall in love with it and want to go back and play the old games and have continued to play the newer games. But definitely well worth that price. I mean, under $10 for a great game. The next game we had to throw a racer in, and we have MotorStorm, the original MotorStorm. There was actually 3 games made for the PlayStation 3 in the MotorStorm series, but the original MotorStorm is the one that came in as the cheapest, so that's why I chose it. This one clocks in at $6.30 on price charting, and it is a killer racer. You're gonna have a blast of a time playing this game. If you've never played it before, check it out. Basically, it's anything goes, man. You go through, you can mess each other up. The tracks are all completely different. One thing that's cool about it with the tracks is as you're running the tracks kind of get messed up. So if you have a bigger vehicle that slid around and caused a bunch of ruts, when you make your second lap, it's going to be in there again. Basically, it's just win the race. It doesn't matter, man. So you can bang each other up, beat each other around. It's got a variety of different tracks and a variety of different vehicles that you can choose from, and it's just a fun series. And obviously, it's a fun series because they made a couple sequels to it too. So check out MotorStorm if you get a chance. Pretty cheap one on the list. The next one is a super cheap one as well. And man, this game gives you bang for the buck because this is an absolutely fantastic game, and it is BioShock, the original BioShock. If you're going to play the BioShock series, you got to play the original BioShock. Obviously, I'm one of those kind of people that's weird about it. I want to start from the beginning of a series. So I'm not going to jump in on 2 or Infinite before I play the first one. But the first one, man, it just sucks you in from the very beginning. The thematics of it. It wasn't really what I was expecting, to be honest with you, when I first bought the game and played it years ago. It starts off, you're on a plane. The plane crashes. Guess what? In the ocean, in the middle of the ocean. And as you descend into the ocean, there's a whole city underwater. The city of Rapture. And when you get into it, it's creepy as hell. It has those horror themes to it. It's got that first-person shooter perspective. Really awesome, excellent game. As I said, this one clocks in at $6.85, so you're never going to go wrong with that cheap of a price for this game. And I'm telling you, if you have not played it, you must play it. Check out BioShock. Before we jump into the rest of the list, I'm going to throw out my honorable mention because I had this one originally on my list, and this game I had to kick off because I just couldn't make it work. So we had the Orange Box. The reason I was going to include the Orange Box is because it's got 3 absolutely fantastic bangers of games on it, but it is a little bit expensive. If this was an Xbox 360 list, this easily would have made it because it comes in at a lot cheaper of a price for the Xbox 360 than it does the PlayStation 3. But since it's a PlayStation 3 list, I had to exclude it. But I would have had this on here because this one comes in at like $25.87 for the PlayStation 3. So that would have been a quarter of my budget, and I really was going to have it in, but once I got to the end, I think I was like $10 over, and I was like, I gotta knock it back down. So I had to make a casualty, and that was the casualty. Next one on the list, we had to throw some sort of platformer in. Now, maybe the PlayStation 3 is not best known for platformers. I think as kind of we've come along into the modern age of gaming, platformers, although they're still very prevalent depending on where you're looking at, a lot of the modern systems are focused on first-person shooters, third-person games, things of that nature. But we had to get a platformer in here, and we got the Jak and Daxter HD Collection. So the reason I chose this was because I wanted to get a collection, and the PlayStation 3 has some amazing collections. I've got a handful of them, 3 or 4 of them. The Orange Box was another one that's a great collection. But the PlayStation 3 has a lot of them. Unfortunately, some of them are getting pretty expensive. So this one was a little bit cheaper. This one clocks in at $21.72 on price charting, but you get all 3 of the original Jak and Daxter games. So some platforming fun from Naughty Dog. You're never going to go wrong with that. You get a nice HD remaster of each game as well. It's a great way to play the games. Check that one out. The last 2 games I had on the list, they're very inexpensive games. As I said, I had to take the Orange Box off to get me back down. So I had a little bit of wiggle room to add a couple more games in. So I decided to throw these 2 in because they're great games and they're well worth having in your collection. Well, in any collection, but definitely your PS3 collection. We got GTA 5. Now, I thought about throwing in Grand Theft Auto 4, and maybe I should have it. I should have checked the pricing on it maybe, but GTA 5, a regular edition copy of it, only clocks in at $7.67 for the PlayStation 3. This is the way I played and beat the game originally when it came out way back when. That tells you 2 generations ago. That's how long this game has been going on for. But, you know, there's so much content with it within the game, and if you jump into the online side of it too, there's even more content, although I'm not really positive if the PS3 still has online. You guys would have to let me know that if that's the case or not. The final game, though, is another game that's actually really inexpensive, but it's one of my favorite games of all time. Again, if you look back at one of my other videos, maybe if I remember, I'll link it up here in the top. But I did a top 10 list of my favorite games or my all-time games. This one comes in there as well, and that's Dragon Age Origins. Now, this is a fantastic, super deep RPG. You could spend a crap ton of time in this. I'm talking, I probably spent months messing around in it, just going through, checking all the different endings, all the different scenarios, you know, banging as many of your companions as you can. That's how deep it is. You can actually have sexual relations with your companions. And who doesn't want to have sexual relations in a video game? Just like in real life, right? This one clocks in at $7.07. Very inexpensive. And honestly, for the content that you can get out of this, totally, why would you not want that? If you're an RPG fan and you've never played Dragon Age, you better. So that gave us a grand total of $99.18. Now, if you had $100 to spend on PlayStation 3 games to start a collection, I don't think you could go very wrong with this stack of games right here. You have an RPG with 100 hours of content in it. You have a third-person perspective shooter that you can do pretty much anything in with Grand Theft Auto. You got some great first-person shooters like BioShock and Fallout 3. Ghostbusters is a phenomenal game. Honestly, in this list of games, there's at least 3 games in here that I would consider top 10 games for me personally. So I'm not sure who else collects for the PlayStation 3 as intensely, I guess, as I do, and who would want to do this. But if you guys want to do a reciprocal list for the PlayStation 3, I'd love to see it. Let me know, drop down in the comments, let me know that you're going to do a video, or if you want to drop a link in the comments, I'm good with that too. Either which way, definitely check out the Fried Ice Cream Stout. If you're in that area up there in that New Jersey or that northeastern United States area, you may be able to find that. Flying Fish Brewing Company. It's kind of like a tongue twister for me once I've been drinking. And until next time, you guys, take care of yourself out there. Cheers.